plain cranberry juice at Whole Foods. It's like $8 a thing.
Nasty taste.
Well, then, yeah, if you
And
want,
you
that's
mix it
fine.
with water.
Then there you go. That's fine. We just wanted to steer you away from the packaged and processed stuff that they, like your Ocean Spray
Oh,
or your
yeah.
Tropicana.
Yeah.
Not saying that that's all bad. We're not trying to dog Tropicana, but you just have to look at the sugar content, and there's better options. We're just trying to get you to look at your options and say, hey, there's some better choices I can make if I want orange juice or if I want cranberry juice, and that option.
But nutritionally, you don't need it. So that's a want for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, we'd be happier if you just drank water and had some cranberries and regular berries.
Yeah. So
Oh.
we're just trying to, if you want cranberry juice, okay, but you don't have to have. You don't need it. So.
Okay. So this guy, Ron Rosedale, is a medical doctor, and he kind of came out with a profound statement. This was a long time ago. Health and lifespan is determined by the proportion of fat versus sugar people burn throughout their lifetime. So if we're burning fat, that's healthy. Makes sense? If we're burning sugar, that means we're ingesting a lot of sugar and we're never burning our fat, and it's going to cause a whole bunch of disease processes. The more fat you burn as fuel, the healthier you'll be. The more sugar you burn as fuel, the more disease-ridden you will be, and the shorter your life will likely be. So it's kind of a good way to look at it. If you keep throwing sugar into your body, it's eventually going to kind of drive all these inflammatory and disease processes that we have today. Make sense? Is it scary anybody?
Yeah.
I mean to, but it's powerful. I mean, I can literally remember when I started to learn all this, and we went through the same thing, and I was the person, what about this? What about this? What about this? And then you start reading more and more and more. I know Joe's a fanatic about reading stuff now, and it's striking. What causes diseases in our culture now. And, this is one of the reasons why we're the most medically advanced country in the world, and we're 44th in healthcare, is because we're the culture that eats like this. And, we won't stop, so. It's just such a, I hate giving this talk now because I feel like it's such a down talk, and it's, late at night, and it's like,
Why did I come here?
Yeah,
Seriously, I can't do this, I can't do that. I can't drink orange
I went to work
juice.
last week, the next morning, 2 weeks ago, the next morning after we had the last little talk. And I was telling my guys, and we're having a break, and they're all eating healthy things like Cheerios and yogurt and stuff. And I realized I'm cutting everything that they're eating. I say, oh, he told us not to eat that. Oh, he told us not to eat this. And then I look and get the heck out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you supposed to eat?
Right.
Anytime we give this talk, we gave this talk, I think we mentioned this last week, down the street at a company for like 65 people. And all of them at the end of the talk were like, what are you talking about? We had them do it for 2 weeks, and I've gotten like 8 emails about how much better they feel that they stuck with it. So it's just, and a lot of people aren't, and a lot of people aren't used to hearing that. So you've got to break down big barriers, because a lot of us grew up, including myself. You got to have milk. You got to eat bread, and we weren't taught that. So now you've got to kind of break all that down and then rebuild. And a lot of people don't want to hear it because they're stuck in their ways, which is fine. But if they eat this way, they feel a lot better. They wouldn't put on as much weight, and we'd be a healthier society. So,
Sure. I think one of the things to think about, which is funny, one of the professors that taught us some of this is he says that he gets paid X amount of dollars to go around and teach people to eat salad, but that doesn't really get to the population because there's no money in it. There's money in milk, and there's money in corn, and there's money in sugar, and all these products, or these fad diets, because you have to buy the book, and then they ship the food to you, and you have to log on to their websites. When you just know the information, like I have to eat fruits and vegetables as the staple of my diet, the person who tells you that has nothing to gain from it. So that's why that doesn't get across to as many people. So cutting sugars. So we just talked about, from weight perspective, inflammation. We talked about it last time. So we discussed inflammation, but this is interesting too. So for heart disease, really what we've been kind of trained now is to have your blood cholesterol, LDL, HDL checked. We're defining now as inflammation is a better marker for the risk of heart disease than cholesterol. So if you have high cholesterol, Sometimes that's just genetics, that's how it is. But if you add inflammation, which is going to inflame the vessels and cause this heart attack, it's a better marker. So they're looking at things like, if you go to your, people do have medical doctors, they'll start looking at things like homocysteine, they'll start looking at CRP, all these other inflammatory things on your blood work. They might not talk to you about it as much. Can anyone guess why cholesterol is the marker for heart disease? Number one drug in the country is going to be Lipitor and statin drugs. So if you see it, it used to be, cholesterol being at like 140, you have to go on a statin drug. Now it's like down to 110. It keeps getting lower and lower and lower to put more and more people on these statin drugs. And I hate to sound like conspiracy theory, but I didn't make it up. This is straight up medical journals that speak to this. And I didn't put this in the PowerPoint too, but there's another medical doctor who he's a little bit one-sided, but he says that statin drugs are kind of the biggest scam in modern medicine now. Not to say that cholesterol doesn't have a part in it, because it definitely does. You can't say that if you have high cholesterol you're healthy. No, you really do want your cholesterol low, but it's not the number one thing to look for. Does that make a little sense? All right. Is everyone angry or upset or depressed or all the above?
We know you are, Liz.
Okay, how did everyone do the first 2 weeks? We're talking about it a little bit. You did well, cheated once, Cal?
Well, yeah, I had some wheat products a little, and I did feel sluggish the next day.
Okay.
Pretzels and wheat thins and some chips.
And that's good. That's something that we haven't talked about yet. After you eat lunch, you're supposed to feel better, more energy. You're not supposed to have that, oh God, I have to go back to work, I just crashed. What that is a product of your blood sugar spiking and then your insulin spiking to crash the blood sugar. So that's those ups and downs that we feel that shouldn't happen.
And you'll be able to know once you start eating well, because for example, that used to happen to me, and I thought I was having a salad every day, but I wasn't checking the salad dressing. I get a salad from the restaurant down the street here, and I'm like, oh, I'm eating healthy, this is good, it'll be a chicken salad with fruit on it, and then I get the balsamic vinaigrette salad dressing, and then I looked into it a little bit more, and there was so much sugar in the salad, I couldn't figure out why I was crashing at 3 o'clock, and I had to have something else. It's because there was so much sugar in the salad dressing that was throwing everything off that I was trying to do. So really, if you're having salads, really make sure you guys pay attention to the dressing, because that's really going to be that's going to be the problem if you do have any of the salads, so just pay attention to that. That's what we see a lot of. That happened to me a couple years ago when I started doing this diet and I couldn't figure it out, and then I just finally figured it out like a year ago when I was eating over there, like, oh my God, there must be a ton of salad dressing, or a ton of sugar in the salad dressing, and that's what it was after I looked it up.
So balsamic vinegar is good?
Sure. But just don't get like the stuff over at Wall Street there. It tastes great, but it's got a bunch of extra stuff in it that increases the sugar content. But if you just do balsamic vinegar, you'd be fine.
Yeah, I'm drizzle that on with a little avocado.
Lemon on it's fine. Oil and vinegar's fine.
If you add honey to anything, it is so good. Like I made sweet potatoes or butternut squash, and I put honey on it, and I baked it. It was so good. It gives you that sugar that
it's
you
sweet,
want.
but it is way lower on a
Way
glycemic index.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
How much honey?
Like, no. You know what? I put like a tablespoon in like a little dish. I did melt like a little thing of butter,
Okay.
truly, and then I got a brush and just brushed it on there. And it was crispy and it was just so good. And I do put a little bit in the plain Greek yogurt, just like a teaspoon at the bottom. And then I add fruit in the morning with a little bit of the Greek yogurt and mix it up. And you've been eating that.
Sure.
It's been really good. It gives you the sweet.
And if you do want some of that stuff, just look at the glycemic index on something and try to pick something that's where it should be. Don't pick something that's really high on there. Pick something that's lower. And
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just
you
look
can
up
get it online, or we
glycemic
can print it out for you.
And what's a good number?
Well, depends.